What's going on, guys? Project Finest here, and today's a little bit of a different video. I've watched many ShadowHunter guides myself, especially before maining one, and a lot of the new guides and stuff, they're good. I'm not gonna put anybody down. They're good. It's worth a watch, right? Getting everybody's input. It's worth getting all the information that you can about a class. But after playing the class so much myself and it being my main, there's a lot of things that the guides don't go over. There's a lot of minute stuff. There's some tips and tricks, and there's some PvP tricks. So I thought as might as well give a complete guide to the class PvE and PvP. So we're gonna start off with the PvE section first, and PvP will be after. And this is gonna be a straight to the point kind of guide. There's not gonna be any like sugarcoating or anything like that. We're gonna go right to the point. So first thing right to the point is, if you like perfect suppression, go play a martial artist class because it's just better at back attacks. Don't play perfect suppression. Simple as that. You're gonna want to play demonic. There's no ifs, ands, or buts to it. Demonic is the way to go. Demonic is the cheap route. Demonic is the better damage route. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. And honest to God, leveling through T1 and T2, demonic is way more fun. It's more forgiving because you get the heal. And is it really more damage perfect suppression in Tier 1 and T2? Who the hell knows? Who the hell cares? You get the T3 so fast nowadays anyways with all these events. So let's jump right into it. So the build running demonic impulse, obviously. If you're going perfect suppression, it's just a troll. Just go play martial artist class. In all honesty. So first thing we're gonna go over is the skills. As a demonic impulse, what's it called? ShadowHunter, you'll get your base 8 skills, and then once you transform, you'll then have another 6 skills. So the whole goal to demonic impulse is to be able to transform into your demon form fastest, because that's where the majority of your damage will be coming from, as well as better survivability because of the heal and such. So because of this, we're going to run primarily purple skills, which help fill up our bar, and in conjunction of that, we'll have some runes to help us there. But we'll go over the skills first. So one of the base skills that is cookie cutter, right, is going to be your demonic slash. This is your movement ability. It's great. For the tripods for this, you're going to run excellent mobility and nimble movement. As you can tell, I have 360 skill points. If you have less, you can opt out of nimble movement. That's completely fine. And just run the excellent mobility. If you have more skill points, then you're gonna run to chain charge, so you get a double dash, which is nice. Your other normal skill that you're gonna be running is thrust impact. Thrust impact, you're going to be running swift thrust into deep thrust into encroaching power. Now, encroaching power is very important because it helps us gain more shadow burst meter. While thrust impact isn't the best for gaining shadow burst meter, every little bit counts, because your ultimate goal is to go into one rotation of skills and be able to go into demonic form, right? So every encroaching power is just a must on the class. That is the reason why we take most of these skills, as you'll see. So thrust impact, swift thrust, deep thrust, encroaching power. That takes care of your regular skills. Now we go into the purple skills. Demonic clone. For demonic clone, you're gonna run vital hit point into fist of destruction, into enhanced releasement encroachment, which is another gain shadow burst meter, right? These are very important. Like I said, as many skills that have these is what you want, and we're running all of them. These just help boost damage, which is kind of mute because your demon form is going to be all your damage. Next skill we'll go into is Ryzen Claw. This is your counter skill. I don't have enough points for the 7, but if I did, I would either run critical blow or giant hand. Probably critical blow, in all honesty. Giant hand, you don't really need it. Be giant, it's more of a PvP thing. But for the level 1 tripod, you're going to be running weak point detection just because it's against a boss. Next, we're going to run demon vision. This is one of your most important skills, especially if you land all the ticks. Ticks meaning all the ticks of damage that it does. So you want concentrated release. Then you want encroaching power. As I said, encroaching power is your number one thing. And then instant discharge. It makes it so you don't have to charge up demon vision anymore, and it instantly just shoots out, and it makes the skill a million times better to use. Next, you're gonna run Demon's Grip, and you're gonna have Swift Fingers, Encroaching Power, and Stretching Hands. See the trend of Encroaching Power? It's great. Giant Grabs, you don't want to run this because we're focusing on raid, and Stretching Hand does more damage to push immunity foes, which are bosses, and Swift Fingers just makes it go a lot faster. After this, you're gonna be running Howl. Howl and Demon Vision. So Howl and Demon Vision, these are your two main demonic generators, and Howl is great because it also has Scream of Fury, which once you hit a boss, you get an extra 12% damage for your whole party for 6 seconds, which is, it's huge, right? This is your best synergy until we get the recent patches that Korea just got. But until then, this is your pretty much your only synergy as a demonic. You're gonna run Swift Fingers, Encroaching Power, and Scream of Fury. And then your last skill that you're gonna be running is Decimate. Decimate is just good damage. It gives a little bit of shadow meter, which is not that bad, and it's just pretty good damage, and it's a nice little like throw in their skill. So you're gonna run Swift Fingers, weak point detection, again against bosses, and Cruel Hand, so there's a second explosion that comes out. Now, lastly are your demon form abilities, and all these will just automatically be there, so we'll quickly run through them and we'll show you more once we go into the gameplay of it. Your Q ability, Ruining Rush. This is kind of a mobility and a filler skill, depending if you need it for mobility or not. If you don't need mobility at that moment, you could just press it into the boss, completely fine. Death Claw, this is your counter in demon form, as well as it is your lowest cooldown skill, which will play more of a role once we go into the runes. Destruction has really good damage. It's a quick skill, right? And it's good to just press off cooldown. Everything here you're going to be pressing off cooldown, actually. Core Bleed, it's a little bit of an animation lock, but it's not that bad, and it does a good amount of damage if all the slashes hit. Leaping Blow, mobility / high damage skill. You can jump into a boss with this, which I tend to do a lot of the time, and it does a lot of damage. It's a little bit of AoE to it, and again, mobility if you need. Blood Massacre, this is your big daddy skill. This thing hits like a truck, especially when you have your buffs up properly. This thing will hit like a truck. This is your big damage skill. You don't want to miss this one. This is what's going to be doing all that huge damage, right? It takes a little second to wind up, and then it'll explode. It's AoE. It's got really good AoE too, so you don't have to be right up the boss's butt. But you definitely don't want to miss this. It feels bad when you miss this. Now, if anybody was paying close attention, you'll see that a lot of our skills, our staggers, are high or mid to high. So our Blood Massacre is high, our Leaping Blows mid to high, mid to high, and our W has a low stagger, and our Q has a low stagger. But besides those two, this is why Demonic Impulse build, you bring, not only do you bring survivability for yourself, a little bit of a team buff with the Howl, you bring very good stagger. Nobody really thinks of a Shadowhunter having good stagger, but you do as Demonic Impulse because of these 4 abilities and because of the low cooldowns, which you'll further get lower cooldowns because of gems. Now, a lot of people don't know, is if you press down here to the settings, it opens up this window, right? So what I recommend is going to this window, pressing settings, and every single skill that you have that you can track, this is what allows you to track tripods. So this is very useful when you get to, I believe it's 1370. Once you start getting gear that allows you to transfer tripods, this lets you track them, so you don't have to be in your inventory scouring around to see which ones have what you need and everything. It'll track which ones you don't have, and if you have one, it'll only track if it's an upgrade, right? So like my excellent mobility is a level 4. You can't get it level 5 right now. That's until I believe relic gear. So I wouldn't be able, I'll never be able to see excellent mobility in my bags because nothing will be higher than that level 4. I could still get like the level 3 in my bags because level 3 would make this level 4, right? I could still get the level 3 in my bags. I just wouldn't be tracked for me. And what it looks like tracked, you probably see this on other streamers and stuff, it has that little triangle symbol on it. So that's how you know that I'm tracking them, right? And I recommend you do this for all your abilities. It makes it super simple in your bags to see what you need and what you don't need. And if you don't want to be a clutter, I highly, can't stress this enough, recommend for you to at least track everything that has encroaching power on it. Everything that has encroaching power on it is very important, and the tripod effects for them are crazy good. Like this shadow burst meter, right? If I get this as a from level 3 to level 4, that is an extra 13%, and that is huge. That is absolutely huge, and it plays a huge role into the class, and it's just very needed, right? These encroaching powers are very needed. Mine aren't even that high of level yet. I haven't spent the gold. I'm saving my gold and stuff to push for hard mode vaulting and everything. So I haven't really spent the gold into this, but I am able to do one rotation, which is why I'm not pushing this even harder. If I couldn't do one rotation, I would push this even harder. And like I said, one rotation is when you can do one rotation of abilities and be able to go into demon. Next is gonna be our runes. These, I'm sorry to say, but these play a major part in demonic impulse builds. And the runes that play a major part is the wealth runes. And you guys are probably like, oh no, Omni stars. It's not that bad, guys. It's not that bad. It may seem bad, but it's not that bad. Wealth runes are great. They're good on a lot of classes. And once you get past the wealth rune, just the legendary one. This is the only hard one, right? Everything else is super easy. Once you get past that, then the class feels a million times better. Now, you're going to put your highest wealth rune on either, I'm going to give you the option here. If you go on like max roll and all that, it'll tell you how, right? I go demon vision because you actually generate a little bit more with demon vision. The only problem is, like, say a boss is moving stuff, this is where you need boss knowledge, is say a boss is moving stuff, you have to make sure you land all those ticks, because you get the meter based off the ticks land. So if you know a boss's patterns and stuff, I would say go demon vision. If you're not too comfortable with it, then go howl, because howl is just one big burst, right? And it's hard to miss. But I would say go with demon vision if you're comfortable with bosses. If not, go with howl. And then so your highest one will either be on howl or demon vision, and then put your second highest on the other, right? Your second highest wealth rune. Then as for that, slot in as many wealth runes. Next would be the Demon's Grip. This will be your next highest generator, and then after that, Demonic Clone. So that's what I have. I have run 4 wealth runes, and that's what allows me to get one rotation. You could take out wealth runes once we get more specialty and all that, then we could start taking out more wealth runes and throw in other runes. But for now, this is what allows me to get one rotation, and one rotation is the most imperative thing. All right, next we're going to go into the demon skills. So first off, we have quick recharge on the W. Now, this is a little bit iffy, but I'm going to give my explanation of why you use quick recharge on your W skill. First of all, your W skill has a cooldown of only 4 seconds, so you're going to be spamming this a lot. So the chances to proc quick cooldown becomes higher and higher because this is your most spammable button. It's your lowest cooldown and it's great. Some guides and stuff will say to attach it to your Q, and I think this is wrong. A, because you're going to be using your Q as a movement ability, and B, it's a 6-second cooldown. So you waste 2 seconds, and that might not seem like a lot, but over the durations of fight and everything, it could really add up. Next is your bleed skill. So your bleed skill is, we put it on our E because our E is the easiest ability to pretty much hit. It's like an instant cast, it's got a wide range, it's hard to miss, and it just applies that bleed nicely. We do have a 2-second downtime because our E is 8 seconds, which will become better with gems. But so you have a little bit of downtime, but when you take into consideration the fights and how bosses move and everything, not everything's gonna be static. It becomes closer and closer to that 100% uptime, right? Next is your gale winds. So your highest gale wind, you're gonna put on your S ability. It makes it smoother. Like I said, the S ability is a bit of a wind up, so it makes it a lot smoother. After that, you're gonna put a gale wind on your A, just because your leap is a little bit of a delay as well, and it just makes the whole class feel a lot smoother. And that is the gems. You pretty much run your wealth runes on your regular forms, and then you run some damage, quick recharge, and gale winds, right? It's just about pumping out that damage as fast as you can, getting into demon form as fast as you can. Now let's talk about the gear. The main gear you're going to want to focus on is the Argos gear. Don't really worry about the hard mode gear. Use that until you get to the Argos gear, and once you get the 5 set, you're going to get the preordained diligence, and this is because, scroll down here, is you gain solar power on the 2 set piece, which is nice, right? You get a 15% crit rate, which is good. And then the better bonus is the 5 set piece bonus when you pair this with support. When you pair this with support, you gain 25% crit for 15 seconds, but the support comes into play where you get an additional 25% crit and 50% crit damage for 15 seconds. So you get the midday buff to 25% by yourself, right? You don't need support for that, but you need the 5 set bonus for that. What really comes into play is total solar eclipse when you have supports. So when you have a support who has the set that goes with ours, which all supports run, you'll get an extra 50% crit now total and 50% crit damage, which is huge, and it's going to lead us into how that ties in with the engravings that we go in. But before we go into engravings, let's talk about stats real quick. A lot of people like to have rainbow stats, right? Can't do that with this class. You need specialization, as much specialization as much as you could possibly do, right? Every single piece has specialization. And then as for the next piece, you're going to run crit with it. Why crit? Because it's going to tie into all that crit damage and everything that we're building up to for bigger numbers. And it allows us to run one of the engravings that we need to run. And on that note, let's go into how you could get even more spec. It's like, how do you have 1400 spec already? I only have like 1200 or so. Well, that's because if you look down here, my pet gives me an extra 10%. I've seen a lot of people overlook this pet, and they just keep the base crit one that every pet comes with, right? So if you don't know this, you could go to any major city, you could go to the pet person in any major city, and you could change the effects that they give, right? So if I press Alt P, I have a pet that gives me specialization, one that gives me crit, and 1 swiftness, like 3 major stats, right? 10% is huge. If I was to dismiss my pet, I would have 1290 spec, and I wouldn't be able to do 1 rotation. Now that if I have my pet out, 1419. It's as much as an accessory, and it's only going to keep increasing once we get relic gear. It is very, very imperative that you guys running this class run the spec pet. It's very easy. It takes 3 seconds out of your day to change your pet to the spec, and it is so worth it. Next, let's talk about engravings. Now, there's a couple things that I want to go over about engravings, and this is where there becomes a lot of controversy in Demonic Impulse with build guides and such. And I did a lot of testing by myself, because obviously I can't afford all the engravings and stuff. I'm not the richest in this game, and so I did a lot of testing in the training area. And basically what I came up with, or I didn't come up with, but I double checked with, is with Maxroll, and Maxroll is actually pretty good at this. I'll give Maxroll a pat on the back with. So obviously Demonic Impulse level 3, huge. You need it level 3. This is going to be your first priority, right? This gives you your crit rate plus 30% while in demonic mode. And like I said, all this crit is going to be adding up and up and up. And you can see the route that we're going. So Demonic Impulse level 3, most imperative. Then next you're going to want to go is Adrenaline. So this will increase your crit rate to be enough while only having crit in your neck piece. So on top of your Demonic Impulse, on top of your Adrenaline, on top of your midday, and if you even get Total Solar Eclipse, on top of all that, your crit is going to be high enough, well beyond enough, for Keen Blunt then to be astronomically worth it. And it boosts your damage super high. So this is like the little trifecta that you want to go for, right? This is your trifecta. After that is where it gets more expensive. But after that, what you're going to want to run would be a Grudge. So not Cursed All. Even though we kind of counteract Cursed All with our healing, Grudge is much more damage, much more worth it. And if you think about it, you take 20% more damage, but you heal 20% every time you go into demon form. So it's kind of like its own little counteract with it. Then after Cursed All, after we finally supersede 4x3 and we can get to a 5th row, your last row is going to be Raid Captain. And the reason for Raid Captain is when you're in demon form, you get a speed buff movement increase. And there's a lot of classes that can give you an extra movement, but in general, it's going to be your best DPS increase for no downside really at all. Some people will say, oh, go Cursed All, or oh, go Hitmaster. It's actually less damage than Raid Captain. And if you don't believe me, you guys could test this out for yourselves. And I've tested this out already. Raid Captain is more damage than Hitmaster or Cursed All. And then eventually, once we get past, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5x3. And then you could put slot in a level 1 here. You could do Spirit Absorption at this point, and that will probably be your best bet, because then it'll just add to your Raid Captain, right? Another way to go is if you don't like Grudge for your 4x3, just do Raid Captain instead. And your 4x3 will then be very set up. The only problem is those are a little expensive right now, and Vaulton is right around the corner, so there's no point in me investing in that. Now, I also want to go over how you can get a cheap 3x3 setting, or technically even a cheap 3x4, and I'll explain why mine's not that, because I'm going to have to explain it. So the way you do a cheap 3x3 is very simple. The hardest part is going to be getting a 6/6 stone that you need. So mine's a Keen Blunt Adrenaline, and mine's not 6/6. And I did spend quite a good amount of gold, and I just couldn't get lucky. I got very unlucky with my stones. This was the best 6/5 that I got with the lowest reduction onto it. So this explains why I don't have a 3x4. But once you get a 6/6 stone, you slot in 2 level 9s here, right? So mine would be Adrenaline, Keen Blunt, and that gives you your 15. You will not believe how cheap this goes for every class, right? This goes for every class. This is a rule of thumb. 6/6 stone with the 2 abilities right here. That gives you 2 right off the rip. Now, this goes for every class. The main skill that you need, your main combat stat that you need, plus your class engraving, is gonna be so cheap. You're gonna laugh. They cost like 10 gold. Like I can show you really quickly right now. If I was to go to the auction house, ShadowHunter, let's just go. Let's not do a neck because those get complicated with 2. Let's just go like earring, all qualities, tier level 3, legendary. So we need spec, and we need demonic impulse level 3 on each. 10 gold, 19 gold, 20 gold, 20. They are so ridiculously cheap. It is insane. You can build out a 3x4 for under 2,000 gold. The only thing is your 4th one is gonna be like kind of like a meh one, but it's under like 3,000, under 2,000 gold. It's so cheap and ridiculously easy. So what you want to do is you have 5 accessories, right? You need at least +3 of your class engraving on each one. So for me, it'd be demonic impulse, which I have +3 on each one. Then past that, try and line up some sort of 4th engraving that kind of makes sense. So broken bone to me was a cheap one that I could get with all the demonic impulse engravings, and it didn't add much to the cost at all. I think, yeah, it didn't add to the cost at all because nobody's gonna overcharge for broken bone, right? But it does add some damage here and there. When something is staggered, I do 20% extra damage. It would be 40% if it was level 3. The reason why it's not level 3 is because I needed to have a keen blunt 2 on this one just so I could get my keen blunt to level 3 because of my stone. Otherwise, I would have a 4x3 with the broken bone. Perfectly fine. Most people are gonna see, oh my god, 4x3. They're gonna overlook the broken bone. They're not even gonna notice it. They're gonna be like, oh, whatever, right? And I just don't have the gold to fund Grudge or Raid Captain right now. It's just not feasible, right? So I would say for engraving wise, this is your trifecta, then build off of there of either Grudge, Raid Captain, either one of those, whatever you're more comfortable with. One thing I want to mention, guys, as well as the gems, another reason why this class is great is because you require 2 gems. That's it. Absolutely 2. This is another reason why you go demonic impulse over perfect suppression, besides from the fact that perfect suppression is boring beyond belief. Is the 2 gems you want to go are demon skill damage and demon skill cooldown, and that's it. Don't worry about any other gems. You don't need cooldowns or damage ones in the other gems. That's all just fluff, especially cooldown, because by the time you get out of demon form, all your cooldowns will be reset anyways. All that is just going to be fluff. These are your 2 gems that you need, and these are the only 2 gems that you need forever. You can look at endgame Korea player, they just run these 2 gems, right? That is all you're going to need. Right now, work your way up to level 7, as I did. I was fortunate enough to make these myself, and it cost me very little silver. I got very lucky on my hits. After level 7, then start working towards level 10 if you really enjoy the class. If not, just park it at level 7. That's completely fine. Level 7 gems do enough. You're doing an extra 21% damage on all your skills in demon form. An extra 14% cooldown on all your skills in demon form. Your demon form is going to be your highest uptime, and this is why the class is great. Not only as a main, but as an alt. It's a very cheap alt. It's not that hard to get into once you get used to the little bits and tricks in here and there to really optimize it. But even if you don't optimize it, it's a very easy alt to play. I'm not gonna say that this is the hardest class to play by any means, or if it's the best class to play by any means. It's a very easy alt. It's very efficient. It does everything in the game very well. You only need to run 1 build the entire game for all content, and it's great. It is just a great class to have. Also looks cool. Let's be real here. Demon form is pretty cool, especially because apparently there's in the woodworks. They're gonna have skins for demon form. So once that happens, you know everybody's gonna be jealous of our class anyways. And if we go into demon form, we're at 104. It's huge. 104,000 already in the game. Now, if we were to take this off, We're still in combat. There we go. If we were to take this off, our max HP is 80,000 here. Now, if we quickly jump back into demon form, our max HP now is 95,000. We lose out on almost 10,000 HP, which in a lot of scenarios comes in handy. It helps a lot, and it's gonna tie into one of our leading tricks, which is when you're another way to gimmick on this class is your HP potions go off your max HP that you have at that moment, right? So if anybody's following what I'm saying right now, is if you use an HP potion in demon form, you're actually getting more than 30% of your HP. So that's why a lot of the times I use these green potions, because a lot of the time I'm getting more than 30% of my HP. 30% of my HP right now would be about 20 something thousand. 30% of my HP if I'm in demon form right now would actually be over 30,000 health. So I'm healing an extra 10,000 or so just from being in demon form and using a potion, which is a very useful trick, is to try and use potions while you're in demon form. You can also cancel your demon form. So if you press 4 while in demon form, it cancels it. You probably saw me do that a couple times already, but I'll show you that really quick right now as well. So if I press 4, I'm going to go into demon form, and this is slowly going to go down, right? It drains. The more specialization you have, the less it drains, and that's another reason why you go specialization. If you press 4 again, you're going to go out of demon form, which is sometimes actually worth it. If a boss is transitioning or something, you go out of demon form a little bit early, and you could play a range, especially sometimes in Velganos I do this, when he has a bunch of the range stuff down. I'll play just the range game, and I'll start building up meter again just to go back into demon form and build up more health. So it's very useful to know that you could just exit demon form whenever you want. Now, another really good hidden trick here is, let me gather enough energy here. Your spacebar resets when you go into demon form. This is broken, by the way. Nobody really talks about this. I've never seen another guide mention this. Your spacebar resets in demon form. Whether it was a down spacebar or the regular spacebar, it resets. So I'm going to press spacebar. I'm going to go into demon form, and you're going to see my spacebar reset. So here we go. Spacebar, demon form, resets. You can spacebar again. Absolutely broken. Your spacebar is also less in demon form by a couple seconds. Now, that works for downed as well. So you can be in human form. You have to use spacebar. You can get down, then go into demon form, and even the downed one that's 30 seconds long will reset. Now, the downside to this is, well, not downside, the, I guess, regular thing to this is when you're in demon form, if you spacebar and go into human form, it remains there. So it only works one way. It only works when you go into demon form. But it's very useful, and it allows for a lot of uptime. Uptime is huge in this game. You need more uptime to have maximum DPS, and that's allows you to MVP a lot. I get a lot of MVPs on this character, and I don't even have Grudge, Cursed All, none of that, and I get lots of MVPs on the character. Next tip and trick here is, a lot of people don't go over how important it is to keep track of your stacks. If you want to be able to optimize your DPS, you want to keep track of your stats. So the best way is just look at them, honestly. For adrenaline, it's very easy to keep adrenaline up because all you have to do is throw out something. It doesn't need to hit. So let's say a boss is transitioning, but he's about to come back up here and your adrenaline's about to run out. Just throw away a skill. Throw away something with short cooldown like Demonic Clone, your dash. Just throw away something so you keep your adrenaline stacks. You want to try and keep them at 6 as long as you can. Try and hold off using Demon Vision or Howl for this. Your Ryzen Claw is a good one. Your Demonic Clone's a good one. The dash is obviously a great one. Decimate, not so much because it is a longer cooldown. Thrust Impact is decent to use. But I would say the 3 best ones are Ryzen Claw, Demonic Clone, and Demonic Slash. And you could daisy chain them because it lasts for 6 seconds, right? So you can really daisy chain it, and you'll only have to use those 3. But keeping up your adrenaline stacks is imperative. You want to keep those up. Next thing you want to keep track of is once you have the preordained set, you want to keep track of your midday. So what your midday is once you hit 5 abilities within the 5-second window of each one, you'll gain midday, which allows you to have insane crit and allow your crit to be probably almost 100%. So right now in base form, no demonic, we have 15%. Now let's get full midday from just hitting a few abilities. We'll go into demon form, so this gives us crit. Now we got midday, and as you can see, our crit rate is 85% from midday, and we lost our adrenaline stack, so we lost 15%. That's why you want to keep adrenaline up. And now if we lose midday, we go down to 45%, and we have that 30% from being in demon form. So keeping those stacks up is huge. And then if you have total solar eclipse, you'll actually have over 100% crit rate because you get an extra 25%. And that is why you run the Adrenaline Keen Blunt, because it is just so worthwhile to run that Keen Blunt with this class. You just start hitting like a truck. As for skills, for the ultimate skill, Gate of Eruption versus Fallen Ruin. Now this is a personal option. I'll let you guys choose this. Gate of Eruption, if you can't one rotation, take Gate of Eruption right off the rip. No questions about the two, right? If you can one rotation, personal preference here of Gate of Eruption versus Fallen Ruin. I feel like Fallen Ruin does more damage. It's more quick, it's burstier, it's easier to hit. If a boss runs out of your Gate of Eruption because it lasts so long, it's harder, and the main damage from Gate of Eruption comes from that final tick, that big explosion. And a lot of the times I found that the bosses run out of it, where Fallen Ruin, you just click it and it's super quick. You click forget and you see huge millions of damage of numbers, especially when you line up your buffs, right? So now we're going to talk about the PvP aspect of the ShadowHunter. And the ShadowHunter is a great class in PvP, but it lacks some super armors and it's very squishy. And don't think of this class as like going in gun blazing and everything. You will get CC'd and you will die very quickly. You're more of a ranged melee hybrid. You go in when you see the opportunity to do a quick combo and you get out. And a lot of the times while I'm playing ranged, I'm looking to just peel for my teammates. Right, I want to just peel for my teammates with my abilities as much as I can. That way they can do damage. I can wait for an opportunity that they create for me to go in and do as much damage as I can. You can do a lot of damage on this class. You can carry on this class, but it will take a little bit of practice. It's not the hardest class to get used to. I'm not saying that at all. There's a lot of skill shots, a lot of critical quick thinking here and there, but it really isn't the hardest class to get into. It's by no means like a gunslinger or Deadeye with all their combos, or how quick thinking a Glavier has to be sometimes. It's by no means like that. So the cookie cutter build is gonna be the set of 8 skills, which we'll run through really quick. You're gonna have your demonic slash. This is your mobility, right? You're gonna take excellent mobility, nimble movement, chain charge. Gives you 2 dashes. It's great. It's not a long cooldown at all. It's only 10 seconds, and it really flies by. It's great movement, and you could get around the arena very nice, and you could chain up some other skills with it. Thrust impact. You're gonna take swift thrust, so it goes quicker. Enhanced explosion, so it knocks down the enemies, and spectral explosion. After this, grind chain. This is one of those good range skills. It's very easy to hit. It's not that hard of a skill shot to hit. And it's just one of those to throw them out, help your team. You can displace enemies. You can slow them down with it. You can take earth attack, impaired mobility, and chain attack. Cut, you actually also take critical cut with. Next is Demonic Clone. This is one of your immunities here. You get paralysis immunity from taking Naively Honest, and it's also a knockup. So you're going to take Naively Honest, Fist of Destruction, and Enhanced Release Encroachment just for that extra stagger to be elevated to mid, and you get a little bit of Shadow Burst meter gain, which is good in PvP. After this, Ryzen Claw. This, you're also going to take Naively Honest, a little bit of paralysis immunity. This is also a knockup, and I find Giant Hand to be very helpful because without Giant Hand, I find myself missing this ability a lot. But with it, I find myself hitting it a lot more often, and it's very, very useful. It's a quick ability, it's very quick knockup, and most of the time you're going to be knocking up with Ryzen Claw rather than Demonic Clone. Next, Demon Vision. This is great. It's a hard CC. It's got your electricity CC on it, right? And it's range. It sucks because a little bit it is a skill shot. It's not the easiest to hit because it is pretty narrow. I'm not gonna lie to you. So this is where a little bit more skill comes into play. But for example, let's say we all know the classic blade combo, the knockups into the Moonlight Sonic. When a blade is casting like Moonlight Sonic on your teammates, you press Demon Vision on them, and it cancels their Moonlight Sonic. And it's a great tool to really help your team out, right? Like I said, you want to kind of be that range support, let them create opportunities for you to jump in and do massive amounts of damage. So because of this, you're going to run Quick Release, Electric Discharge, and Instant Discharge. This makes it a quick skill to click, gives you that hard CC that you need. And like I said, it's great to help your teammates with. Next ability, this ability has many uses to it. Piercing Thorn. So quickly through it, you're going to run Enhanced Strike, Triple Thorns, and Massive Thorns. This creates a nice wide AoE, knocks enemies up. Now, you're never really going to be pressing this button when somebody's on top of you. It takes too long to cast. Right, you're gonna get staggered or CC'd or something before this ability even appears on the screen, and it's just gonna go on cooldown. It's very, very good for one zoning, right? You zone off enemies with it, so it's good to give your team a little bit of a breather room, or B, knock up enemies that are on your teammates. So let's say an artillerist is about to combo one of your teammates. He does the stagger into the roll into the stun onto one of your teammates. Put a Piercing Thorn underneath him, right? Get that knockup onto him. So then it ruins his combo and your teammates can live and you guys have a better chance to succeed the game because of that. So again, it's great to use to help your teammates out. A lot of these abilities you want to help your teammates out with. So now let's go into some combos. So some combos this is with the cookie cutter build. We'll go into optionals right after this. The cookie cutter build, some combos outside of this is not really going to be a combo. Like I said, that's going to be more zoning. Your W is going to be more zoning, and your D is going to be again more support zoning. So we already have 3 abilities into support and zoning. Now, when you go into a combo and you want to be decisive, you have 2 options here. So you're gonna engage with Sharpen Cut, right? If you need a quick knockup, Ryzen Claw is your go-to. If you feel like you could get Demonic Clone off, because Demonic Clone knocks up on the second demon's like slam, where Ryzen Claw is an instant knockup. So if the other class has like an instant knockup that you know of, go for Ryzen Claw. If you feel like you can get Demonic Clone, go for that. If you land your Sharpen Cut, it does give you a little bit of stagger room, so you could go straight into a Demonic Clone, right? But if you don't land your Sharpen Cut, you might want to go for Ryzen Claw instead. So let's say I go into this guy. I'm going to Sharpen Cut into a Demonic Clone, into a Thrust Impact. That's not only is that going to stagger him real quick, it's going to get a knockup, and it's going to knock him away while pushing us away, so we can leave quickly, and it'll be free damage onto him. So this is a nice little cookie cutter combo. Knocks him up, and that's gonna knock him away and knocks us away. You might have to stand forward after you do Demonic Clone or any type of knockup for the Thrust Impact, just because of how short of distance it is required to do that, but that's fine. You take one little measly step forward, you press thrust impact, and you leave. Now, let's say they don't have their roll, so that you know they're going to be on the ground for a while. I would go from Sharpening Cut into a Ryzen Claw, into a Demonic Clone, and then if any of these abilities are up, press them, because they're going to be sitting on the ground for a while, and it'll just help your out. There's not going to be any specific route for this. It's kind of a judgment call. Do you have time for Piercing Thorn? You could run away and press Grind Train if they have teammates coming. A lot of these guides, what they do is they try to facilitate people into just strict combos, and it's never going to work out like that, right? Combos past 3 buttons are never going to work out like that. A, they have teammates that are coming. B, they have rolls, dashes, and other things are going on, right? It's never going to work out like that. Let's not pretend like it's going to work out like that. Let's not beat around the bush here. But let's say you do miraculously 1 in a million times have somebody in a corner, right? You're going to quickly Sharpen Cut into a Ryzen Claw, into a Demonic Clone. Then you can just throw every button that you have on them and finish it off with a Thrust Impact, and then just dash away. Sometimes, which is actually very useful to do, is using your Demonic Slash offensively. So just like your Sharpen Cut gives them a little stagger, so would your Demonic Slash. So you can do what I do, like on a Soul Fist, and you can Demonic Slash dash Demonic Slash to really get a lot of space and confuse the enemy, and it'll stagger them a little bit. So because you do that, it's a quick little stagger, so I would always follow up a Demonic Slash with a Ryzen Claw. Don't really try and do it with Demonic Clone unless they're really slow players, because Ryzen Claw is instant, whereas this one, you have to wait for the second hit to really get them up. So you could do this into a Ryzen Claw, and then just follow up with any quick burst that you have. But be aware that if you do this, only do this combo if you have your spacebar up. If you don't have your spacebar up, don't do this combo, because you're just going to be running away. If you're in the open and they have no teammates around them, yeah, it's a little bit more safe to do it. But most of the time, they're going to have teammates around them. They're going to be peeled, right? So it's going to be tough to do unless you have a spacebar to get out. If you don't have a spacebar to get out, it's very risky, and a lot of the time you'll then just catch yourself out. And in PvP, you want to try and do as much damage as you can and really reserve your health. It really comes down to the wire in a lot of these matches. Now, while we're on the topic of the cookie cutter build, one of the main cookie cutter stats is you're going to be taking 750 swiftness. Every class is taking 750 swiftness. That's just cookie cutter in general. You'll take 1 crit, because you never know when you crit, and you're going to take 249 domination, because when you get a knock up, it'll help with combos, right? So that is your cookie cutter stats, and this is your cookie cutter build. One last thing before I forget is your ult. So in the cookie cutter build, you're going to be running the Gate of Eruption. For most build, 99% of the build, you're going to be running this Gate of Eruption. Doing a demonic build in PvP, it's not that good. It's fun. You guys can surely mess around with that as much as you want. I'm not going to go over it in this video. It's not nearly as good. There's not as much utility. It's selfish playing. You get CC'd in it a lot and just die straight out of demonic, and it feels bad. Especially if you run the other ultimate. When it hits, it works. It feels really nice, right? But most of the time, it just doesn't work out for you. So when you're running Gate of Eruption, there's a few things to keep note. Is when you press ultimate, this works for any class. When you press your ultimate ability, you are immune to any type of CC. So a lot of the times, I will bait all 3 of their teammates into me to do damage, to knock me down, and then I'll make sure I have my roll up. So then I'll quickly roll out of the ground and go straight into my Gate of Eruption to catch at least 2 of them into it. On the topic of Gate of Eruption now, is when you press your gate on somebody, let's say they're on the edge, or let's actually get a better example here. Let's say I miss my gate. I miss my gate. This guy's right here. but he's like on the ground laying down. So we could just walk over. You could walk over very easily to somebody and just thrust impact them in. Remember, your thrust impact knocks them. So you could thrust impact somebody in and it'll do massive amounts of damage. It helps build up your shadow meter, and it's very useful to just thrust impact them in. And hopefully your teammates aren't a bunch of lack of better words, brain dead people, and they also can help push them in with any of their abilities into your ultimate, because your ultimate does a lot of damage. It staggers them inside and it helps build up your shadow burst meter immensely. So try and start the game with your ultimate. Try and look for that aggressive play so you guys get the upper hand with your ultimate, because then you'll be able to go into demon form 2, possibly 3 times in a game. Speaking of demon form, don't think you're God's gift when you're in demon form in PvP. Please don't. A lot of people do. They just want to jump into 3 people and go, woohoo, let's press all the buttons. Don't do that, please. You're not God's gift in demon form. You never will be God's gift in demon form. You will die really quick. You're immune to staggers, so that's good. You can really just run at a gunslinger. It's kind of funny because a lot of gunslingers will try and stagger you. Make sure they don't have their freeze. They can still freeze you, but they'll just try and like stagger you, and you can just run at them. They just start panic pressing every button, so it's kind of funny. So you're immune to staggers, right? But besides that, knockups, knockdowns, any type of hard CC, yeah, you just get screwed. And again, you're a squishy class, and now you're really up in their face, and you're in demon form, so you're just like a big disco flashy ball saying, come hit me, I'm down. Not good. It is not good. You don't want to be caught out in demon form. Now, I will go over a few things. A few key notes in demon form. The most notable being that your S ability is going to be your biggest damage. Again, be aware of that wind up. Your A is very good to catch people because this will stagger them. So that is a good stagger to go from your A into your S. Do it very quickly because you'll get the stagger off, and it almost guarantees your blood massacre goes off. Now, another good stagger is to do your ruining rush into Deathclaw. Now, the reason why you do ruining rush into Deathclaw is because it delays a stagger over them. Let me show you that looks like. So you're gonna ruining rush into Deathclaw into an auto attack. I didn't mention this before, but your auto attack in after a Deathclaw delays the stagger even further. So this is all just stagger chaining them just for your teammates to come and help you. And it's just the most optimal way to deal damage. Auto once, and then go back into other abilities that you might have up. Sometimes it's good to bait out, like they think, oh, he's out of abilities, you run away, and you just quickly jump back in into a nice quick combo. Demon form's not complicated. Be very, very, very careful when you're in it, because like I said, you are just putting a big target on your back when you go to demon form. Everybody wants to kill you. Nobody wants to deal with your massive amounts of damage and your AoE blood massacre. Everybody just wants to kill you and make you feel like, well, just wasted demon form. Also, keep in mind in PvP, when you go into demon form and you come out, you no longer have demonic impulse, so you will be locked out of gaining meter for 30 seconds. That's why it's very nice to go into PvP with the mindset of using Gate of Eruption pretty early on, so then you could get 2, possibly 3 demon forms within a battle, which greatly increases your odds of winning, because then you'll be able to dish out a lot more damage. Now, let's get away from the cookie cutter. Let's get into the fun stuff, right? I'm going to talk about some optional skills here. Optional skills, this is primarily for 3v3. 1v1 is very different. We won't be going over 1v1, primarily just for 3v3. Optional skills here is going to be Cruel Cutter. Now, what you could swap out is going to be up to you. You guys can swap out Piercing Thorn. You could swap out Ryzen Claw if you want. You could swap out Demonic Clone. As for these 5 abilities, you can swap out Thrust Impact. As for Demonic Slash, Grind Chain, Sharpen Cut, and Demon Vision, you don't really want to touch these ones. Demon Vision, your hard CC is very good. Grind Chains are very good. Range, a little bit of a stagger, slow. It helps displace people, so it screws with their combos, helps save your teammates. Sharpen Cut, it's like your best engage, right? It's instant, it's hard for anybody to react to. And Demonic Slash, simply because it's your best mobility. It's your 2 dashes, it's great. It's got a little bit of delay in between the use of the 2. So you could combo with the spacebar if you want to cover more distance. But Piercing Thorn, Personal Preference, Demonic Clone, Ryzen Claw, and Thrust Impact, all those you could swap out with any of these abilities. And honestly, it's what you feel most comfortable with. If you want to play more ranged, you could swap out Thrust Impact for Cruel Cutter. Or if you want to keep the Thrust Impact, swap out Demon Clone for Cruel Cutter. And with the Cruel Cutter, you'll run the Bleed effect. You'll then run Range Attack. So keep in mind with range attack, the further you are away, the more damage you'll do. So it really helps play into that more laid back style where you want to be in the back more, just sending out the chainsaws every now and again. And you'll run Boomerang. So it really helps displace people. It really does a lot of damage, especially with the bleed. And a lot of people hate when Shadowhunters run Cruel Cutter, just because of that fact, because it's just like a throwaway ability, and if they get hit by it, they're like, oh, come on, he wasn't even aiming for me. Which, you know what, we probably weren't aiming for you, but sucks. Now, another ability that you can take, and I'm not going to take credit for finding this out, but I love using this ability, is Demon's Grip. Man, oh man, is using Demon's Grip fun. I saw this in the tournament that they had. I forget the Shadowhunter's name. He was a very good Shadowhunter, and he used Demon's Grip, and it was a great combo. So for a lot of times, I'll take rid of Piercing Thorn for Demon's Grip. Again, personal preference. I don't really care for Piercing Thorn too much, because a lot of time I find myself using it when people are on top of me, and it just doesn't end up going off. So for Demon's Grip, I would run Swift Fingers. I would then run either Numbing Effect or Piercing Hand, whichever one you prefer. For me, Piercing Hand and Giant Grasp. Now, for this, it's a very quick 1-2 combo, right? You're just simply gonna Demon's Grip into a Thrust Impact. It's a very nice 1-2 combo, and nobody expects a Demon's Grip. He got knocked back almost to where he started from, and I get a little bit away, and it's a quick, like 15 second, by the time the combo goes off and everything, 15 seconds you could be doing this, and nobody expects you to be running Demon's Grip, because it's great. You could also prolong this by Demon's Grip into a Ryzen Claw into a Thrust Impact. A little bit extra damage while they're on the floor or while you're running away. Then throw in a Grind Chain. So you could really daisy chain this combo very nicely. That's why I kind of like running Demon's Grip, and nobody expects it, and it's great. It's awesome when you run something and nobody expects. And it helps build your meter too as well, because it is a purple skill. A nice little full combo here will be Demon's Grip, Ryzen Claw, into a Thrust Impact, into a Grind Chain. Now, make sure after you Ryzen Claw to take a little bit of a step forward for that Thrust Impact there. Now, that is a great little combo if you want to run Demon's Grip. Again, not mandatory, but it is one of the skills you can run. Now, as far as these other skills like Howl, Decimate, Spinning Weapon, Demolition, you guys can try what you want. I tried making a lot of these skills work, and they're just too long to get off. A lot of the times the Howl, the fear just doesn't even work. The Decimate gets a little bit wonky, especially if you go with the sideways one for it. It's a lot of the times it really just doesn't work. I found that the Demon's Grip was a nice little cherry on the top. Nobody's expecting that one. And I found that best for me was the 750 swiftness and the 250 crit. A lot of the time, the crit just feels nicer than a domination, in all honesty. Again, personal preference if you want 1 crit, 249 domination, or if you want 250 crit. It's up to you in the end. Try them both, see which one you like more, see which one feels better. For me, the 250 crit, it just feels a lot better. And then as far as skills go, I just change them up a lot of the time to keep it interesting. Piercing Thorn, Demon's Grip. I'll just change these up a lot of the time. Sometimes I won't even run Ryzen Claw or Demonic Clone, and I'll put a Cruel Cutter in there. It's whatever you want to keep yourself like fresh with the game, right? And whatever like you feel most comfortable with. So try them all out, see which abilities you're most comfortable with, what combos you're most comfortable with. These are not every single combo. Again, it's hard to say every combo because when you're in a game, when you're in a match, there's a lot of things going on at once. There's a lot of micro decisions happening, and you're not going to be able to cookie cutter combo every single time. You're going to have to make stuff up on the fly. You're going to have to demonic slash into a spacebar, demonic slash into a sharpen cut to get somebody way over here for the final kill. Like stuff like that, you're just going to have to think about on the fly, and there's no way for me to tell you every single combo out there. I can just tell you what free easy ones there are in a vacuum space, right? And that's what Trixion is. It's a nice little vacuum space. Now, as for tips and tricks, there's mainly only one with the ShadowHunter class, and it's like nowhere stated, and that is extending this ability. You see how short that dash is right there? You see how short that is? You can actually extend that like in a crazy amount. See? The difference is huge. So if we were standing in this middle spot and we were just aimed this way, we get almost to this outer ring here. Let's go back to this middle spot here. Now if we do the combo, we get almost to the point over here. We doubled our distance, and it is absolutely crazy. And then you're probably looking at me like, when the hell am I ever gonna use auto attacks in PvP? Well, for those of you who don't know, your auto attacks are like mini little staggers, and then when you land that final blow at the end right there, it's a knock-up for us. So it's an extra way for you to get a knock-up. Let's say you are hitting somebody. Let me just summon somebody real quick. Let me summon two actually. Let's say you're hitting this person right here, and he's more over here. He's coming down, right? Let's just move this guy a little bit down here. Blow him away. Okay. Let's say you're hitting somebody right here. You got him staggered, and this guy's running towards you. You can 1, 2, 3, come back around and give him a good knock-up. And that way you can then get out for free. So you did your full combo over here. You did your damage on this guy. Now you want to get out for free. Another way is you could do your full combo here and get a huge amount of distance out. A huge amount. Another thing I see some people do as ShadowHunter who do know this trick is they'll face away from the enemies, right? They'll face away and they'll do the auto attack animation into a sharpened cut. And when I saw this, it blew my mind because I'm like, wow, I got to put that into my gameplay. So they're just auto attacking over here. They'll come here and then sharpen cut. And nobody expects this to happen to them. They're like, oh, that ShadowHunter is just auto attacking over there. Nobody expects that amount of distance to happen so instantly because of sharpened cut. Let me show you again here. That is just a crazy amount of distance that you can cover instantly that nobody's gonna expect, and it could just elevate your game just that much to give you that much of an edge to climb the ranks. And for this trick, it's not really worthwhile in PVE. There's no really need to do the extra distance. And to do the extra distance, I guess I should explain this part. To do the extra distance, let's say I was just holding down my right click, right? For me, it's right click. Whatever your auto attack is, you're just holding it down. This is your distance. When you throw out the blades, you're going to want to let go of your hold down and then you're gonna want to press your auto attack as the blades like hit your body. So right there. It takes a little bit of practice and getting used to, but once you got it, like you really get it. You understand the animation well enough to get it. It's like when she's like grabbing her blades. It's like when she's, it's hard for me to do it while zoomed in. Zooming out is actually easier. It's like when she's grabbing, like once the blades get to her is when you guys want to do it. And you'll know you did it right because it's a purple one instead of this like short little like blue. You get a nice big purple flash, and the distance is absolutely crazy. It's astronomical. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little guide. I'm sorry for a lot of the words I'm fumbling over. I did do this at 4 o'clock in the morning, but there's just so many guides that I watched. It just didn't go over the right things and the little tips and tricks into a ShadowHunter, which you can micromanage to just make yourself be elevated so much higher into the MVP charts, into the damage charts, into PvP tricks that just people just don't go over, and they just throw at you that, oh, ShadowHunter is easy, just press every buttons and that's it. While it might seem like that at first, in the end there are micro things that you could do to really distinguish yourself from other players. And as always, if you guys want to see more ShadowHunter gameplay, if you guys have any questions about the ShadowHunter, feel free to check me out at my Twitch channel. We go live usually around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single night. And the link to that will be in the description, as well as my Discord link. You guys can ask me questions in there. I'm always active in there to answer any questions. If you guys have questions about any other classes, we have a very small community, but they are very guiding. We cover a broad amount of classes. I think all of us probably combined have knowledge on every single class together, and we could really help guide you guys on any class that you need. So feel free to check out the Discord. That link will also be in the description. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Put a lot of time and effort. Again, it is it is like 4 or 5 a.m. right now. But I'm just very passionate about the ShadowHunter and how much this class is going to grow, especially once we get the buffs. And even though it is a cheap class, it is a great class to have. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.